Yes, 88.9, Radio Skid Row. And we do have a special guest, right?
We do. Rosanne, thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rosanne Freak-Poli from Monash University. Thanks for having me on the show.
Of course. And so today we'll be talking about a study. Is it a study that you've already completed, or is it one that you're planning?
I've got both options for you. I can talk about my prior research, but also we are currently recruiting older people aged 65 years and older that are in their homes on a home care package or in residential aged care for a survey looking at socialising and well-being. So we're interested in socialising in later life and how people keep it up or barriers to socialising, as well as their well-being and how it affects their well-being. So if you are interested, I'll give you a phone number now and I'll repeat it again a bit later. It is 0399052971 if you're interested. But I'm very keen to talk about my research. Is there an aspect that you're particularly interested in to set me off?
Yeah, I think when I saw some of the media release and some of the information on the study, it interested me because in my own personal experience with my grandparents, that I found when they were, as they got older, that their loneliness increased. And it was something that at the time, I just didn't think that it was spoken about enough. So I think when I saw this, I found it really interesting and important to talk about.
Yeah, so loneliness is a really fascinating topic in a way, because in our lifetimes, it is a part of the human experience to feel lonely at some point. So most people will experience loneliness. When we get to the point of chronic loneliness, then it is a problem for our health, for our well-being. So when I say chronic loneliness, it can be for consistent over the week, for several weeks, for a long period of time. So more than three times a week that you have this feeling of loneliness. And then the persistence, so this reoccurring that's happening over months, years. It can be really terrible for your well-being instantly, but then for your physical and mental health long-term as well. And unfortunately, 1 in 5 Australians aged 65 years or more do feel lonely, and that increases for the oldest old and people living in aged care facilities. So what you've seen is actually, unfortunately, part of a lot of people's experiences.
What about your experience with this?
My research has shown, when I look at people who are aged 65 years or more, I look at Healthy Australians, so it's a cohort called ASPREE, run out of Monash University, and it's a national study. We look at people over time. I'm a life course epidemiologist, so I like thinking about people's histories as well as over their lifetime in the future. And what I found was that people that said that they were socially isolated or didn't have social connections or lonely, or maybe all three, had 46% more likelihood of having a cardiovascular disease event, so experiencing that, or double the chance of dying from a cardiovascular disease event in the next 5 years. So it's really strong evidence, in my opinion, that we should be thinking of loneliness as potentially as a health indicator, like blood pressure or the other ones that we talk to our doctors about. It's really important to point out that this cohort of people is unfortunately not a small cohort. We have an aging population, which means that people are living longer and in good health, which is great if they're staying in their own homes and keeping active. But once we remove ourselves from activities and being involved in community, it can be a real problem. It's really hard to make friends at any age group, let alone when you get older and you have other issues such as health that prevents you from socialising. And I will, related to what you were asking me before, there's some research by my colleague, Dr. Barbara Barossa-Neves from the University of New South Wales, who has found that when she spoke to people that they feel abandoned, rejected and left to die once they are aged over 65 in Australia. So this is regardless of whether or not they have health issues or are in the residential aged care or at home. People, once we get older in our society, we're not incorporating them as much as we could. And there are so many opportunities to engage. We've got the University of Third Age, for example. There's volunteering is a great way of giving back and feeling connected to your community, as well as neighbourhood houses and public libraries, and as well as local councils. They all have a calendar of events available, and we're trying to encourage people to reach out and get out of their comfort zone. And it can be difficult, I understand, but maybe inviting one person to go with you the first time can really overcome that. I find it really difficult because we know that there are so many great activities and programs out there. Even if you're not close to a major city, most locations have somewhere to go, a community group. Like I said, the libraries or the councils do arrange these. It's really hard, though, to get that information to the people who are not already engaging.
Yep.
And that's where we believe that social prescribing can help. So this is where the healthcare system gets involved. A lot of healthcare professionals think of they're helping their clients beyond their physical health. They want to help people with their mental health and well-being, which includes their social connections. And social prescribing essentially is when a healthcare professional helps someone, their patient, to be linked in either directly to a social activity or to a link worker. This is a UK model, or it's a model that's being used in the UK. It's actually international, where they've funded link workers all over the UK to help people have one-on-one sessions with these people, with link workers, so patients and link workers, and they discuss what would you like to do to improve your quality of life, your well-being. Don't worry about necessarily how it impacts your health. We know that having stronger connections will be good for your physical health, but let's get people connected. Let's look at what's available in your local area. What restrictions may you have to get to that location? Does it have to be on a public transport route, or is there walking possibility if it's less than 1K? So they can really individualise the recommendations, and a lot of GPs or healthcare professionals want to help people, but they also don't know about all these opportunities in their local area. So I would encourage healthcare professionals, particularly if you have a waiting room, to call their local libraries, to call your neighbourhood houses and local councils to see if they have some pamphlets, just to post over to you, and you can have them in your waiting room. So then people get access to understanding that there is more that they could do if they would like to get out and more and meet other people. Like I said, it is very difficult to meet new friends at any age, let alone as you get older. So we all know that there is a fear or an anxiety. I'm sure you've felt that, Ellie, going into a new thing.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot goes into these buildings, design and the programs to make people feel comfortable to attend. So a lot of public spaces, they actually do consider, how can we make this more welcoming and make people feel like they belong here? They don't want to make it exclusive. So there is a lot of thought not only in the architecture and the programs, but the people that are engaging and trying to engage people into the programs. That I think that if you are new, you want to try it out and go to your local neighbourhood house, for example, you'll find that it's a lot less scary than you may anticipate. And also, sometimes it's nice to go ahead of time if you're thinking of starting a new activity and, I would say, sussing it out, looking around and maybe going in and talking to someone so that when you do come back, you have at least one friendly face that you may recognise there if you're walking into a group. The other thought I had when you were talking about that is one way to think about, even at all ages, do you have friends that are beyond your immediate age group? So how about, we think about our friend portfolio, so to speak. Do we have a friend that's 10 years older? Do we have a friend that's 10 years younger? Because we do have a lot to learn from people, and specifically out of our generation, because technology is so amazing that we have to keep up with it, and different generations communicate differently. And I think it's really helpful to sort of talk to other people and work out, you can, if you have to communicate with someone that's 10 years younger, they may use a different digital platform that you do. So there's Instagram, there's Facebook, and keeping those that activity, like that, they can help with that. You can learn something new together. It's just a fascinating concept to sort of think about how you could be supporting each other, growing together at different ages. Do you have anyone outside of your age group, Ellie, that you're in contact with at least once a month?
Yeah, I think I do.
I'm right here.
Yeah, true. Lima's older. Another thing that I wanted to add was how important accessibility is, because if we're thinking about my generation, which is like Gen Z, and comparing that to, an older generation, the way that we communicate is so different. So the way that we share information is so different. So I think when I'm saying accessibility, I'm not just talking about like accessible spaces and stuff like that. I'm talking about how we share knowledge. Like, do we put flyers around, or like, give people a call, that kind of thing. That's just what I was thinking about what you were saying before.
And that's, really pointing about technology. So with technology, one of the things I've noticed is when I have talked to people in residential aged care facilities, they're not tech savvy. And I do believe that there's a huge benefit to them becoming more tech savvy. So obviously, if you've got a physical disability that prevents that, that could be very challenging. But I feel like if the grandchildren age came into these residential aged care facilities and sort of helped set up some of the Facebook messaging, or these platforms, that how people are communicating, or even the face-to-face call services would be very helpful. I think that there's a sort of a lack of that available in residential aged care. And there is a second point around that, though, is that there has been some research that has shown that when they do interventions like that, where they do go in and increase the tech savviness of older people, that there is also a misunderstanding about the way to use the platforms to communicate, as in the frequency and the instantaneousness. So, like, for instance, I know that everyone communicates differently, but because people at older age have probably more time, they may feel like it's a very big weight to receive the messages back. So understanding that, some people do digital detoxes at night, so they might turn their phone off at 8 o'clock. And that's just a way that we need to cope with the world, and that older people don't necessarily understand how that that we need that time away from technology sometimes, or if we're busy with work, how we are inaccessible for a long periods of time, then it's beyond the 9 to 5 that prior generations may be used to. So it's partly is increasing savviness, but also increasing the understanding of how to use technology or what an appropriate wait time is for a message would be really helpful, I think, for all generations, but particularly in helping to people aged 65 years or more to engage with younger generation. I do have some other tips for people that may be listening that either are concerned about people around them and have maybe a bit of availability, or people that are lonely or feeling socially isolated. So first of all, I would say we all live in a community somewhere. Checking on your neighbours is a really lovely thing to do. It doesn't have to be all that often, but particularly around festive seasons, we have a Easter period coming up, and that may provide a bit of opportunity to have a cup of tea, invite them over for a cup of tea, or often have maybe a cup of tea on the pavement. Stand outside and have a cup of tea if that feels more comfortable. But so if we know 3 neighbours, we're much more likely to not feel lonely. So all you have to do is know 3 neighbours in your local area, and I think that in my mind the frequency of sort of having a chat maybe once a month, and that's like a casual chat saying hello as you enter or leave your house. That sort of connection can actually help. It's not like an in-depth conversation, which I'll talk to you about in a moment, but just having people around you that you know and you see regularly can be really helpful for people in these situations. So this is the next step I want to talk about, is that thinking about the friends that you do have. So most people have a friend around them that they communicate with. If you don't, I would seriously think please go see a health professional and say that's your number one health need, because I do think that there is an opportunity for you to get more connected. So if you do have some people in your life, though, we don't need a lot of friends. If you have 3-6 people that you're in contact with once a month, I think that's really great. And that contact could be a text message, an email, or a phone call. It doesn't have to be necessarily in person. Some people actually really enjoy their solitude. So I think that it's really important to remember that social isolation is the number of times you see someone. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to become lonely. So someone may be very happy to be socially isolated, and also just to remember that not to put that on people when you are perhaps thinking of people around you that are socially isolated. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're lonely. So this social connection is more about, that I'm talking about, is looking at the people that you have in your life, thinking about reaching out to them, go beyond the usual chit-chat. Take time to listen and engage in a deeper, more meaningful conversation. So it could be about, if you're looking for some topics to talk about, it could be, what you want to achieve this year. So just at the start of this year, is there something special that's going to happen this year for them that was different from last year or the year before? What's something that they'd like to do in the next 5 years? It can be really helpful just to talk about your goals. It could be for someone, it might be a trip nationally or internationally. These sorts of things are fun to talk about. What do you want to do with your life? Maybe you'll find out that you both have another interest that you didn't know, and then could do something together that enriches that friendship. Another thing is, if you are going to an event with someone or without someone, maybe consider inviting one person, and you can just do that every, not all that often. You can do it a couple of times a year, but just reach out to someone else and get them, offer for them to be involved. Because even if you don't necessarily keep up a friendship with them, they may meet someone there that keeps up a friendship, and then you're sort of doing the good for ongoing connection in our community. So those things can be really important for someone if they haven't got a lot of contact. Someone giving you time or inviting them, it can be a big thing, and they might not say yes the first time as well. So don't take it personally. It may be about them more than you if they don't want to join you. Not about the activity necessarily either.
What's the next steps?
Yeah, so with the study that we're doing at the moment, we're doing a survey looking at socialising, just what people currently, their contact with people, and then what their well-being is. We're wanting to follow people over 2 years, so there's 3 surveys over 2 years, and we're looking at changes over time, and we're wanting to understand as well. So between surveys, things happen with physical health, things happen with our friendships group, and we're trying to follow that over time. We are very specifically looking at people who are aged 65 years or more and are receiving government subsidised care. So that's a home care package or in a residential aged care facility. And you may not have that yourself, but you may know someone that may be interested in doing the survey. From this, we're hoping to increase the evidence around socialising in later life and also some of the barriers as facilitators. So that means some of the things that we need potentially to get help with, to help others socialise, but also what's working for some people that we can then share these success stories to get help other people socialise, and so it's more of a increasing our understanding and then translating that back to help people keep connected as they get older in later life.
Thank you so much, Rosanne. It was lovely to chat with you, and I feel like I have learnt a lot from this conversation, so thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to chat.
Attention everyone.
This is Radio Skid Row on demand.
We have with us Mayor of Marrickville, Joe Halen.
Welcome to the program, Mr. Mano Tari. Kia ora, morena mano.
The CEO, Make-A-Wish, Gerard Menzies.
Radio Skid Row on demand.
Radio Skid Row, 88.9 FM.